Hey people, you're listening to Healing Outside the Box. My name is Jean Tiberio, and I'm a nutritionist and a wellness coach. Today is episode 191, and I'm calling it, So What Exactly is a Ketogenic Diet? And by a ketogenic diet, we mean diets like the old Atkins diet, or the Paleo diet, or South Beach, or whatever. But basically we're talking about a low carbohydrate, high protein, high fat type of diet. And I'll get around to talking about that. But first, let me tell you that Halloween season has officially arrived in Salem, Massachusetts. As many of you know, I happen to be sitting right in the middle of it all. My apartment building was actually used in the movie Hocus Pocus. This was the schoolhouse. And at one point, when the kids in the movie were walking along the Salem Common, if you looked in the background, you can see my living room window. And I watched it once again recently, just so I could say, oh look, there's my living room. So exciting. Or not, if you're not into haunted happenings. But I do like the street fairs, so I wheeled my wheelchair down to the pedestrian mall and got right into the thick of things with about 80,000 tourists that were in Salem for the Columbus Day weekend. Salem, by the way, is a relatively small town, so that's a lot of people walking around. You have to walk slow because there's such a crowd ahead of you that it backs up like a walking traffic jam. So I'm rolling along in the wheelchair, saying, excuse me, pardon me, coming through. And then eventually I give up and just go with the flow. Anyway, the street fair is kind of cool. They have the usual man dressed up with a top hat on stilts and all kinds of people with scary painted faces trying to get people to go into their haunted house. And of course the street vendors selling jewelry and t-shirts. But it's fun to run into the usual townies that are out walking around. The only exception is the guy that's always there with his sign saying, "The end is near." In which case I usually wheel myself in the opposite direction. But I enjoyed myself, since I am in a wheelchair in wheeling rather than driving. People driving in and out of Salem, not so happy. But this is the life we live here, and it's a great town if you don't mind putting up with the crazies. So anyway, back to the episode. What is a ketogenic diet? Simply put, a ketogenic diet is a high-fat, very low-carbohydrate diet with either adequate or high protein. It was originally put together as a way to possibly treat epilepsy, which is a hint that it has an effect on your brain. But as we all know now, it is used as a rapid weight loss diet. The most common keto diet is the Atkins diet, but there are several versions now, and maybe the Paleo diet is the most common as we speak. Now, these very low carbohydrate diets put you in a metabolic state of ketosis. And that means your body is producing lots of ketones that your brain and other organs will use for energy. Now, ketosis is a process that does occur naturally in your body, but it is not the primary way that your body uses food for fuel. Ketosis happens when you don't have enough glucose to break down for energy to meet your body's needs. What happens then is your fat stores start breaking down rapidly to make fatty acids. When your fat breaks down to the point where your system backs up, then ketones are formed. So the bottom line is that your brain primarily needs glucose for its energy. But without glucose, your brain can burn ketones for energy. And that's basically why this process is necessary. But is it a good thing? Well, if you're looking to get your body's opinion, it is an okay thing, but it shouldn't be the way your brain consumes energy for its needs on a regular basis. That's because your body likes to be efficient, and ketone production for energy is not. It's a very inefficient way to run your body. And as you know, if you have a car, if your car's out of whack, you will burn more gas to drive your car the same distance. And you will burn more calories and lose weight faster if you're using primarily ketones. Now, in order for this diet to work, you need to be in a state of ketosis. Now, what are the signs that you're in this ketosis state? Number 1, bad breath. Your breath will take on almost a fruity smell when you are in full ketosis. And you need to be in full ketosis when following these ketogenic diets if you want to lose weight. This weird fruity smell comes from acetone, which is a specific ketone. In the old Johnny Carson days, he had a lot of jokes about ketone breath, this or that, because Atkins was very popular when Johnny was very popular. Number 2, initial rapid weight loss and a general weight loss at a rate that is faster than a simple reduced calorie diet. The weight loss is not all from fat, however. There's a lot of water being released as well. Number 3, increased ketones in your bloodstream. Your physician can actually take a blood sample and measure your ketone level to get some idea how successful you are at maintaining your keto diet. Your doctor tests for something called beta-hydroxybutyrate, or BHB. You can also buy a test kit and just test your level at home. But the test kit will let you know what amount of BHB you need to be in a state of ketosis. Number 4, increased ketones in your urine. If you're a common sense person, you may have already guessed that having something build up in your urine that doesn't belong there is not always a good thing long term. And you would be correct. My opinion, not everyone's. Number 5, appetite suppression. This is what everyone loves. And it's the most popular reason that people go on ketogenic diets. We're not really sure why this happens, but the best guess is that eating a diet that is primarily protein and fat without any carbs may alter your natural flow of the so-called hunger hormones. And that's because these hormones rely on your normal fluctuation of glucose levels in your body. You have a fasting glucose rate and a post-meal glucose rate. All of that gets thrown out the window when you're on a keto diet. Number 6, short-term weakness or fatigue. A lot of people experience foggy-headedness when they first start the ketogenic diet. You may experience trouble focusing and suddenly feel very tired. It has been dubbed the keto flu, and you generally feel like you're catching something the first few days on the keto diet. Eventually, people may experience feeling more alert when their body gets used to their brains working on ketones rather than sugar. Number 7, loss of electrolytes. This one's important to keep an eye on. Again, this may only happen initially until your body gets used to having ketones rather than sugar. There is a rapid loss of water in the first week on your keto diet. You may lose some potassium and magnesium with the water. This could cause your legs to cramp up as well. It's important for you and your doctor to be aware of this if you are seriously following the keto plan. You can obviously have your potassium and magnesium levels checked in your blood when you visit your doctor. Number 8, short-term decrease in athletic performance followed by possibly a long-term increase in athletic performance. Now, they're not sure why this may or may not be the case, because there's been very few research studies done on people with regard to athletic performance. But if I were to guess, I would say that your body's getting accustomed to using all that fat for energy and you're trimming down. You will lose fat stores and become leaner. But once again, your body first has to get used to using ketones rather than breaking down stored glucose for your body to use as fuel. Number 9, constipation more than likely will occur. The keto diet is primarily meat and fat, with low amounts of fiber-containing fruits and vegetables. You will also be losing a lot of water. You can deal with this by eating more low-carb vegetables like the leafy greens, and exercising more, and perhaps taking a stool softener, which will bring the water back into your gut. Number 10. Insomnia is likely to happen in the beginning. There's usually no way to avoid this, but again, it will pass in a few weeks, more than likely. Now, having said all of that, here are some basic tips if you want to follow a keto diet to lose weight and/or lower your blood sugar. I recommend watching the saturated fat, because that might come back to bite you in terms of a higher cholesterol level. If you focus more on eating seafood rather than steak, you can cut down on some of those saturated fats. Ditto for chicken and turkey. Now, I recommend you still eat a lot of green leafy vegetables. They're still low in carbohydrates and they're high in fiber. These might be spinach, kale, bok choy, romaine lettuce, etc. In addition to the leafies, carrots, celery, Brussels sprouts, pea pods, broccoli, green beans, etc. will also work. Another reason this diet is popular is that it recommends a lot of cheese. Cheese is high in protein and makes everything taste better. But again, watch the saturated fat. Meat and poultry is encouraged on this diet. My recommendation would be to keep an eye on the cholesterol by using lower fat meats. Eggs are also encouraged on this diet. Now, although there's plenty of albumin in the egg white, the whole egg will contain just as much protein, more vitamins, and still will have little carbohydrates. Coconut oil is one of the fats that is encouraged on the keto diet. It is high in a type of fat that includes something called medium-chain triglycerides. You will see these abbreviated as MCT. These triglycerides will promote ketone production. And again, in the oil category, they recommend extra virgin olive oil. There's some antioxidants in there, and that's important because you're giving up a lot of natural antioxidants because you're not eating the high fiber fruits and vegetables. Next, they recommend nuts and seeds of all kinds. They have a moderate amount of protein and they're good sources of the healthy fats. They also contain some fiber, which you will need. In terms of fruits, they really don't want you to have most of the fruits, but they do encourage you to have a few berries. They're lower in carbs than the other fruits. This diet encourages basically unlimited amounts of butter and cream, which makes most nutritionists like myself cringe. But there you have it. Small amounts of dark chocolate are allowed on this diet, but this is tricky because most desserts that have dark chocolate also have a lot of sugar. So FYI. Now in review, a keto diet will promote a state of ketosis in our bodies. Most of our cells run on either carbohydrate or fat for energy, but can use ketones for energy when there isn't much carbohydrate around. When our body notices it doesn't have enough glucose for energy, fat breaks down very quickly to fatty acids. Then the fatty acids go to the liver to be broken down in large amounts, and this causes the formation of ketones. Now, in terms of running our brains, we can only use glucose and ketones for energy. So that's why you might notice symptoms in the brain at first, but then your body gets used to it. Once you reach a state of ketosis, ketone bodies will be used for fuel throughout our body. The state of ketosis will take about 2 to 4 days to reach, and you'll have to be eating less than 50 grams of carbohydrate per day. That sounds like a decent amount, but trust me, it is not. It is a strict diet. Once you're in ketosis, because of the smaller amounts of sugar and less insulin being produced, it will help type 2 diabetics stay in better sugar control. The concern I have, and a concern that is issued by many people in the nutrition field, is that it increases your risk of cardiovascular disease. There's an article in the Harvard Health newsletter that takes a common sense approach to all of this. I'll put the article link in the show notes. Okay, so here's the bottom line about all of this. This is my opinion, and other opinions may vary, because this is a controversial subject, as I'm sure you know. And there's not much hard science, because most of the data collected is based on patient interviews and not double-blind studies. But there are 2 points that seem pretty clear to me. Number 1, the keto diet, if followed correctly, will result in relatively rapid weight loss. It significantly reduces the role of insulin, the hormone of fat storage, and because of the lowered sugar and insulin levels, the keto diet will improve control of type 2 diabetes. The second point that seems pretty clear is that it is difficult to keep up the keto diet long term. People will inevitably slip and have some carbohydrates. They'll go over the 100-gram carbohydrate limit to keep the state of ketosis and then start gaining weight because the keto diet is also high in fat. Long-term studies comparing keto to the Mediterranean diet have shown that at first people lost more weight on the keto diet, but overall the Mediterranean diet won for maintaining weight loss and the overall health markers. So the keto diet is considered a yo-yo diet. It's nearly impossible to maintain long-term, and when you stop the diet, you will gain back faster than when you gained the weight the first time. So try to make sustainable changes in your dietary plan that can include lots of fruits and vegetables, lean meats and fish, nuts and seeds, olive oil, and plenty of water. That will work the best compared to everything else. Now that's all I have for you today. Be well and stay tuned next week for another episode of Healing Outside the Box.